This presentation examines how a manufactured narrative of sweeping political corruption has taken hold in parts of the Canadian political conversation and how this distortion affects democratic debate. The goal is to show that the narrative itself, not actual systemic corruption, is driving cynicism, polarizing Canadians, and reshaping how people interpret political events, institutions, and decision-making in Canada. The answer is yes. A manufactured narrative of rampant political corruption is actively poisoning Canada's political debate and warping public opinion. The claims underlying this narrative are not grounded in real evidence. Instead, they emerge from partisan messaging, algorithm-driven amplification, and deliberate misrepresentation of routine governmental actions as corruption. This environment pushes Canadians away from fact-based discussion and toward suspicion, outrage, and conspiratorial thinking. Although isolated ethical breaches occur, there is no credible evidence of system-wide corruption in Canada. What is clear is that misinformation promoting the idea of corruption is eroding trust in institutions, delegitimizing political opponents, and reshaping the public conversation in destabilizing ways. In reality, Canada remains one of the least corrupt countries in the world across all major global benchmarks. Oversight institutions such as the Auditor General, the Ethics Commissioner, an independent judiciary, and free media ensure accountability and transparency. These systems function precisely to detect and deter wrongdoing, and the rarity of major scandals reflects their effectiveness. While individual cases of misconduct happen, they do not add up to a structural corruption crisis. The narrative suggesting otherwise is therefore not supported by credible data. This narrative spreads when routine administrative decisions, procedural disagreements, or policy outcomes are reframed as evidence of corruption. Social media influencers, partisan actors, and fringe commentators use emotionally charged messaging to portray leaders as illegitimate or deceitful. Outrage-oriented algorithms elevate sensational allegations, often stripped of context. Selectively edited clips, misleading headlines, and decontextualized commentary spread faster than corrections. Digital forensic studies show that domestic networks increasingly mirror foreign disinformation tactics to manufacture anger and distrust. Research demonstrates that repeated exposure to corruption accusations, even false ones, erodes public confidence in institutions. As cynicism grows, democratic engagement weakens, and voters shift focus away from real issues such as economic performance, climate resilience, national security, and social policy. Manufactured corruption narratives encourage Canadians to see political opponents as enemies rather than participants in a shared democratic framework, damaging pluralism and cooperation. This shift in mindset creates fertile ground for polarization and destabilization. The cumulative effect of these narratives is that evidence-based political discussion is replaced by suspicion, outrage, and accusation. Policy debates are drowned out by scandal bait and conspiracy rhetoric, diverting attention from substantive issues. Communities become polarized as different groups begin to operate within separate factual universes. Bad faith actors capitalize on this climate, using unproven corruption narratives to mobilize grievances, solicit donations, and build movements rooted in anger rather than evidence. Canada's accountability architecture is strong. Independent ethics offices investigate wrongdoing and publish findings. The Auditor General performs performance audits that uncover mismanagement. Access to information laws allow journalists and civil society to scrutinize government records. Courts uphold legal limits on executive power. These safeguards demonstrate that the system is designed to expose and correct problems, not to hide them. Ironically, the existence of investigations is often misrepresented online as proof of corruption, when in reality it shows the system working properly. A manufactured narrative of rampant corruption is indeed poisoning political debate in Canada. The underlying issue is not widespread corruption, but widespread misinformation portraying normal governance as corrupt. This trend undermines public trust, fuels polarization, crowds out serious policy discussion, and weakens the democratic culture needed for a healthy political system. Protecting Canadian democracy requires strong media literacy, independent journalism, resilient institutions, and a commitment to evidence-based engagement over viral outrage. The Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity contributed an assessment of disinformation threats to Canada's democratic processes, clarifying how false narratives, especially those alleging corruption, are weaponized in the digital space. Edelman's Trust Barometer provided data illustrating declining public trust and how misinformation accelerates that decline. The Canadian Security Intelligence Services report the evolution of disinformation, a deepfake future offered insight into how fabricated and manipulated digital content can erode confidence in public institutions and amplify accusations of corruption without basis. The article by Dawson in the Journal of Canadian Studies supplied academic context, comparing political trust in Canada with other democracies and demonstrating that Canada's institutions remain comparatively strong despite public perception trends. Viewers can pause here to review the full citations and follow the source links. For more fact-based content about Canadian politics, democratic health, economic trends, and rhetorical analysis, the Facts for Canadians platforms offer ongoing resources and educational material. These outlets aim to strengthen public understanding, improve media literacy, and support evidence-based democratic engagement.